Hey everyone, welcome to another video. Hope you're all doing great and having a lovely day. My name is Jack and I'm the Avid assistant, and this video is going to be going through 5 different ways to use color coding in Media Composer. So just 5 ways that you can color clips, bins, sequences, different things for different uses and purposes within the application to help you out. So this is more of a workflow than a features video. So without further ado, let's dive right into it. So starting right at the beginning here, your source picture and sound after them being imported. I always color code all my picture blue and all my sound green. And always the same shade, always bright green and bright blue. Now it doesn't have to be these specifically, it's just 2 contrasting colors so they stand out very clearly on my timeline when I'm going through the sound and the picture. Whoa, that's just jumped away. So that they stand out on the timeline. This also helps when I'm selecting stuff and bringing it in, so I can clearly see what something is. For those of you who've never really used color coding, I will say that in order to get your coloring in your bin to show up on the timeline, you just have to enable source clip color, which you'll find down here in the timeline fast menu. Then go to clip color and just make sure source is ticked, because without it, you'll see that we'll just get the default Avid colors. So you're going to want to have that on in order to use coloring on your timeline. Number 2, coloring by scene. So this is another really good use for clip coloring, as it gives you a sort of wide overview on your timeline of your scenes. So here I've got this short film that I cut a little while ago called The Treasurer. It was produced by a production company in Northeast Scotland called Page Break Productions. They are amazing guys, lovely to work with, good storytellers. I'll have a link to their page in the video description, and as well as a link to this short film if you want to check out the final cut that was sent to festivals. So that'll be there. And a huge thank you to Richard and Mike for letting me use this footage for these videos. It's been really, really useful, because trying to source well-shot, good footage for these videos has been a bit of a challenge. So thanks again, guys, for this. So this is another really good use for clip coloring, as it gives you a sort of wide overview on your timeline of your scenes. Now I'm going to show you 2 ways of doing this. So this is the first one. This would be just coloring every scene a different color so that you can see them all kind of, or rotating colors, because you probably won't have enough if it's a feature film or something. So that you can, see where each one begins and ends. And this is just really for getting some kind of contrast color. But another way that I really like to do when I'm cutting is to color my scenes by the character. So I'll show you that one next. Ta-da! Right, so the Treasurer has 2 primary characters that we follow. First is Jerry, this guy, and the second is his wife, Martha. This is Martha. Now, what I've done in this example of the scene coloring is any scene where we're only following Jerry, I've colored blue, like this scene here, where he's on the phone. And any scene that's only involving Martha has been colored pink. You'll have to forgive the very old-fashioned gender coloring. I have a very small brain that doesn't want to think very hard. And any scene that involves both of them is this kind of greeny, bluey, turquoise color here. Now, this short film isn't necessarily the best example, since it's primarily sort of Jerry's journey, but it does give you an idea as to how this will work. So if you had a film where you are following a whole bunch of different characters, then this, at a glance, as soon as you zoom out and look at your whole timeline, this will show you how much screen time you're allocating to each character. So we can see here, for example, that primarily we follow Jerry. Most of the scenes are just following him, or they're with both of them. And Martha's coverage is, her single coverage, just following her, is primarily in the center of the film. So just from a quick glance, we can see everybody's journeys, where they are in the film. You could see, if they're primarily getting covered at first, second, or third act, for example. And it just sort of, helps to bring you back on track. When I used this to cut a feature film called Northspur, which is about to get its theatrical release in New Zealand, by the way. So any Kiwi friends, please go check that out. This became very useful as we were checking 3 main characters, and quite often zooming out like this actually made me change my mind about cutting decisions and rebalance the screen time between the 3 of them. Right, now for number 3 here, this one's again going to be pretty common. It's just to color code your dialogue, music, and sound effects differently. Generally, I always like to have these on different tracks, so that are separated. But, as things happen, stuff can get moved around. I do understand that they can not be on the right track. And so if they're color coded correctly by a specific system, it's very easy to spot and then pull them back where they're supposed to be. It also helps for isolating music if you just want to export it with the music, stuff like that. So just scrolling down on this timeline, which you're using for example 2, you can see I haven't quite done it as simply as one color for dialogue, one color for sound effects, one for music. But there is a method to the madness here, and I'll explain it. So I had this kind of turquoise color for my imported music. Any sort of soundtracks or my music library, stuff I was throwing in there just for offline. And this was a different color for a composed track. So that got its own color because, this is going to stay with the film. Now, any sound effects that I've imported from my sound effects libraries, I've colored this kind of orangey color here. And all my dialogue has followed the color coding system that I've used for my scenes. So ideally what I would do is the 2 colors that I use for sound effects and music, I will sort of ban them from my scene coloring. And when I was doing this quick example, I've used this turquoise color that I had also used for the music for the scenes where they're together, which is not ideal, just because it negates the system. But that's me being quickly. Clearly, I have some sort of subconscious bias towards that color, and I'm just going for it. But generally speaking, the colors that I've reserved for sound effects and music, I won't use up here. So getting away from clips for a bit, another thing that I use color coding for is my sequences. So I have 3 primary colors that I use for sequences: blue, green, and orange. And to me, at a glance, these denote different things. So orange means I'm currently working on it. It's a work in progress. There's things still to be done. Blue for me is it's ready to be exported, like I've finished working on it, but it hasn't been sent to anyone yet. And green would denote that this particular sequence, has been exported and sent out. It's green, it's good, it's done, we've moved on from this. And I always find that very handy, both as an assistant and when editing, because I can tell, what stage I'm at with any sequences. Now, you could do this with by creating a metadata column of sequence details or something like that, and then saying completed and giving yourself more information, or it's still a work in progress. And then you could do it by text, but I'm just quite a visual person, and I find that color coding is just a lot faster, quicker for me to slap on there, and then, I know. So that's one other suggestion that you can do for color coding of your sequences. And you could work out whatever your own system is to denote whatever you want really quickly. Right, now lastly, for our 5th example, I want to show you one that has gotten a lot more useful in the more recent version of Avid with some of the additions that they've made. So it's bin background coloring. So when you're in a bin, just right-click anywhere in the background, you can set bin background color. Now, I have these color-coded mostly to show whether a scene is complete or not. So if we've only got half of the footage for a scene, and we know that we've got some pickups to come later on, then I would do something kind of orange, like that. So as soon as I open it and I start browsing my footage, I know, oh, there's more to come. This isn't complete yet. I won't be able to finish the edit. And thanks to the newer versions of Avid, you can see these colors in your bin sidebar. So you don't need to add a bunch of information to the bin name. You can just see whether the scene is complete or not. So I've got these ones colored green. So I know that scene's fully complete. All the footage is there. You can cut those. And this one's incomplete. We're still waiting on something. So this is a really useful feature that I thank Avid for. It was a really great addition. And this isn't the only thing that you could do with this, bin background coloring. There's a number of systems. Like if each of your scenes, if you're coloring your clips differently on every scene, you could color the background the same. And then as you had all of your bins open like this, so I can't read any of these tabs, you'd be able to see the color coding of all the bins and just jump straight to the color and you know the one you want. I actually tend to have my filters bin, I have a bin called filters with saved effects and stuff like that I use all the time. And I tend to have that colored purple for that exact reason, so I can jump to the tab. So bin background coloring can come in really useful, so highly recommend it. Hey guys, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed that, if you got something out of it, if you learned something, then please give me the old like and subscribe. And maybe give us a little comment if there's another use that you found for color coding that I didn't mention. Or if you've got a suggestion for a future video, I'd love to hear it. In the meantime, there's another video there, and there's another video there. So go check those out, and I will see you again soon for the next video.